Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to the Ironbark Podcast. I am your host, Epion, and today we got a little bit of a show for you. We're going to talk about killer whales eating moose. We're going to talk about a giant elephant skull found in the Himalayas. We're going to pay a moment of respect and silence for Grizzly 399. We're going to talk about a critically endangered fish, and we're going to talk about the most Canadian animals. What do you think of when you think of Canada? Moose and beavers, probably, right? The answer will surprise you. And then I'll talk about some of my content creation that's going on. So, when we think of orcas, who also go by killer whales, we imagine them hunting seals, penguins, or maybe even other large whales. Moose, the largest species of the deer family, conjure images of dense forests, marshes, and freshwater lakes. As it turns out, in certain areas and very specific circumstances, these two species' habitats can virtually overlap. Under these circumstances, killer whales have been known to hunt and prey on moose. This unusual predator-prey dynamic is not widely known, which is a shame because it demonstrates the versatility of both species and their environments. Very cool, very interesting. Orcas are among the most intelligent. They're the most intelligent. There's no one smarter. And versatile aquatic predators, and we are still learning about these apex predators. For instance, you may be surprised to learn that killer whales found in the North Pacific may soon be reclassified into two distinct species. Yeah, that's right. There's going to be subspecies of killer whales and orcas. There's going to be smart ones and going to be even smarter ones. Among the largest creatures in the deep blue, they can weigh up to 12,000 pounds. And are the so-called wolves of the sea, exhibiting a diverse and adaptable hunting strategies, and hunting in a highly coordinated groups known as pods. Case in point, orcas in the Atlantic have been observed working together to create waves, that dislodge seals from ice floes. Their counterparts in the seas in Norway have been similarly filmed cooperating to herd schools of fish into tight balls before going in for the kill. They are very strategic. They're the most strategic. They call them Orca Team 6. Moose, on the other hand, are most commonly found in Canada, apart from being the second largest mammal in North America, the first being the American bison. But the moose, it takes the crown for being the tallest. That's right, it's the tallest. Stands at roughly about 6'11" at shoulder length. So, moose generally don't receive enough sodium in their terrestrial diets, so that can lead them to looking for aquatic plants like lilies and pondweeds, that type of thing. And then sometimes when stuff like that gets scarce, they might travel across little ocean straits to little other islands where they think this type of food will be more plentiful. And what happens when they do that is that there could be a pod or one or two killer whales coming through, and that's when they'll make an attack and they'll strike. So there was one documented incident that occurred in 1992 in Alaska when a hungry pod of 4 big killer whales attacked a pair of swimming moose. They feasted on the larger two. The smaller one escaped. The feeding frenzy was brutal. It was devastating, but it wounded the one so badly it was unable to keep swimming, and it drowned a little while later. It's a horrible story, but case in point, orcas hunt fucking moose. It's fucking wild. It makes me terrified as fuck to ever go kayaking or paddleboarding. And you see these videos all the time of these orcas and killer whales acting chill and cool with people and not making attacks. But it just makes you think, how many fucking people out there that have gone missing at sea on a kayak or fucking, paddleboard, and you never heard from them again. It's like, oh, the weathers were getting choppy. It was getting kind of stormy Daniels out there, and we didn't really know what was going on. Fuck, for all you know, a fucking killer whale came around and fucking gulped his ass, right? I don't know. We'll fucking see. We'll see. Moving on to the next story. A giant fossil of an elephant skull was found in the Himalayas. The skull was the skull, along with 90 stone tools used by prehistoric humans, was uncovered in the late I'm sorry, I shouldn't even be talking. In the late 2000s. It was in the late 2000s. So anyway, I'll break this down. The elephant skull that they found It was kind of one of those long, straight tusk looking ones, like when you think of the ones in Lord of the Rings. It was sort of like that, obviously not as big and mystical like that, much like a modern elephant, just slightly bigger. They found other skulls like this. I can't remember where. I want to say Italy or something like that. And I thought, oh, this skull looks weird. It's got kind of like a flat skull on the top here. It's kind of flatter than usual. It's got a weird skull crest on it. And I thought, oh, it's probably just some sort of weird, birth defect or mutation or something like that. And it turns out, no, actually, here's another skull. This was probably a subspecies. And here's evidence of them being used along with people as like a tool or something like that. They had it up on a mountain. I mean, they could have had the skull separate. Maybe they could have been using it as like a decorative war piece or something like that. But it suggests a lot. And it's kind of fucking cool. I highly suggest looking up this article and looking up like some of the restorations they have, imagining what it looked like. And it looks like a smaller version of the ones from Lord of the Rings, basically. It's pretty neat. And the next story here, this is like a much more somber story. So Grizzly Bear 399. Let's see, what should I start with here? Grizzly Bear 399 was a grizzly bear who resided in the federal land in the range of hundreds of miles throughout the Grand Teton National Park and Bridger Teton National Forest. She was born in a den in Pilgrim Creek, Wyoming in the winter of 1996. She was captured in 2001 and fitted with a radio collar by the interagency Grizzly Bear Study Team. She was the 399th bear, as you could probably predict, to be tracked with this method as part of a long-term research project. In 2018, monitoring of 399 via radio telemetry ceased, the research continuing as she resided in an area she was easily observable. 399 reached the age of 21, becoming older than usual for a grizzly bear, as more than 85% of them are killed because of some random human activity before they reach old age. She weighed almost 400 pounds. When standing upright on her hind legs, she was 7 foot. And unlike typical grizzlies, she lived in close proximity to humans. Although she was not particularly concerned with their presence, scientists have speculated that she was like this in response to the death of her cub in a remote area. She wanted to avoid that area. She never killed a human despite at least 2 known close encounters. So bears will prefer roads sometimes, especially female bears, because the male bears are kind of like in the mountains and remote areas, and they tend to avoid humans because they have a lot of conflict with them. But mother bears will actually bring them closer to humans because they know the males tend to avoid humans, and the males will kill the cubs. It's kind of a weird symbiosis if you think about it. It's kind of a strange symbiosis, right? It's a symbiotic relationship. Like, female bears prefer the presence of humans because it keeps their cubs safer and easier to raise. Male bears don't like the presence of humans because of the conflict we come into them. So then the female bears pick up on that. And that's the thing, elk know that too. That's why you see them in the national park so much. What else we got here? She gave birth to a lot of babies. She had a lot of cubs. Throughout her life, obviously, she's a very old bear. Her death was on the evening of October 22nd, 2024, so very recently. She was fatally struck by a vehicle on Highway 26 and 89 in Snake River Canyon, south of Jackson, Wyoming. The bear's identity was confirmed through ear tags and a microchip. So I've gone on spiels about this before, folks. You're on the big open road, in remote areas. There's no one else around. You got the highway to yourself. You think, I'm going to speed. I'm going to go fast. Maybe this person wasn't speeding. I don't know. Maybe it was nighttime and they're going to speed limit. I suggest going a lot slower than the speed limit at night. Even if you'd have a disregard for animals, you need to think twice because some of these animals weigh thousands of pounds. When they come into contact with your vehicle, that's going to be a crap ton of damage. It's going to be an insurance headache. It's potentially putting you at harm. You could fly through that windshield. You could roll it. You die. Maybe you have your family with you. They could become severely injured or worse. You need to slow down for your own safety, your family's safety, for the sake of your property's damage, and of course for the animal, right? If you're not going to care about the animals, at least there's something else you can care about, right? There's lots of reasons to slow down. Take it slow. Got nowhere to go fast. If you're probably out there, you're probably on vacation. You need to chill. Take it easy. You're only going to save a couple of minutes. It's not going to change anything. Now, this could have been a full-on accident. It could have been irresponsible. I don't know. It's none of my business. This person probably feels horrible. They probably were an animal lover. They're probably, have a ton of damage to their vehicle. I'd heard they weren't injured. I read another article that said they weren't injured. She did have a cub, and they don't know where the cub is, and they were kind of trying to track it down and find it. I don't know. I hope they come to find it in the coming days, or it turns up somewhere. Maybe it'll follow like similar patterns that its mom used to trek around, which was around roads. Maybe someone will see it. We don't know. So if you're out that way and you see a bear cub around this reported area, Highway 26 and 89, Snake River Canyon, south of Jackson, Wyoming, call it in. Call it in. Call it in. I've seen videos of bears adopting other baby bears. I've seen a grizzly bear with 2 black bear cubs before in a video. So it's quite possible this cub finds another mom. We don't know though. I think that would be unusual type of behavior. Yeah, so that's basically the PSA. Slow it down. Take it easy. Think about these animals. This one was a beloved animal, right? Everyone knows who it was. It's been there for like many years. It's older than most bears. It's sired a bunch of, I don't know if sired is the right word, but it mothered a bunch of cubs. People have been spotting it and watching it for a long time, taking pictures of it. It'd basically be like hitting the boss in Banff for the Canadians out there that know about that. Okay, the next story, I'm not going to go on very long about this because there's not much to say. There's an animal, a fish. It's a critically endangered giant fish. It's in the Mekong River, known locally as the Mekong ghost. And there was recent sightings in Cambodia. It's a giant salmon carp. So they hadn't seen one since 2000, I think was the last time. No, 2005. So it's pretty cool to be able to see one almost 20 years later. So biologists are pretty stoked about that. I guess we could almost call this a Lazarus species. And for those of you that don't know, a Lazarus species is a species that is thought to be dead but comes back to life, like rising from the dead. And it's kind of like a good little story. So the Mekong River, it has lots of tributaries and dams and stuff like that. And they thought it really impacted this fish and probably made it go extinct. But it looks like there's a surviving population of some sorts still out there. So that's exciting. The last thing that I'm going to talk about here is we have a study that suggests what the most Canadian animals are. So when you think of Canada, you probably think of a moose, a beaver, maybe like a polar bear or like something like that. But those aren't the most Canadian animals. So we had a study published in a journal, the Canadian Field Naturalist. It came from a university, Simon Fraser University researchers. For the first time ever, they ranked these animals based on Canadian evolutionary distinctness. So animals that were genetically distinct from similar species or subspecies from all other species. Species. Anyway, so moose are probably very similar to moose found in Russia or Alaska, Europe and Canada. They're moose, right? They're slight genetic variations, but they're generally pretty close, even though they're far apart. What's going to be most different are reptiles because they have an adaptation to the colder climate. So you're going to find it mostly in amphibians and reptiles. So the most naturally evolutionary distinct animals by taxonomic group are the spiny I don't know why I can't talk. Spiny soft-shell turtle, mud puppies, which are like a salamander, northern alligator lizard, which is basically a skink or like a small monitor lizard, the Virginia possum, a belted kingfisher, that's a bird, and then a pond slider, which I'm pretty sure is a turtle of some sort. Very interesting, right? the kingfisher is kind of interesting because it's a bird and you think birds would be migratory and they'd be sort of similar. I wonder if I can find out why. Nope. It doesn't tell me why. It doesn't tell me why. The possum makes sense. It's Canada's only marsupial. They really should answer the kingfisher one. The reptiles is kind of like a no-brainer. Same with the lizards. Well, moving on to this week's content creation. So let's go back. Let's scroll through the feed and let's see what we find. Let's see, what was last weekend? Last weekend was the 20th. So we need to go back as far as the 21st. Oh, yes. Yes. October 21st. It was National Reptile Awareness Day. I did a post about it, and I mentioned some of my favorite lizards. They are the Draco lizard, the earless monitor lizard, the Hydrosaurus, the armadillo lizard, and of course, the Komodo dragon. That day was also World Earthworm Day. I don't know why they got to put them on the same day. There's plenty of days available on the calendar, but I guess for whatever reason they chose this one. And yeah. Cool little fact. The day commemorates on the month that Charles Darwin, the father of earthworm ecology, published his book, The Formation of the Vegetable Mold Through the Actions of Worms. Introdasting, right? No, it's kind of boring. I'm not going to lie. Kind of boring. I know it's like relevant, but it's kind of boring. And then I uploaded some photos. I got some big horned sheep having a little, looks like they're looking for salts in the middle of the road. It's a pretty cool shot though. And then on October 22nd, we had International Wombat Day. Waka waka. Waka waka. I made this one kind of fun and interesting. So, did you know that Diprotodon is an extinct giant wombat from the Pleistocene, but there's been a handful of sightings in modern times. 1872, seen at Giant's Cave near Pond Creek in Braidwood, New South Wales. 1997, while driving through Boronda Road through bushland near Bondi Lake, south of Tathra, New South Wales, in brackets, during the late afternoon. They saw one there. 2001 in Victoria, near the town of Forster. And 2004, near South Wales, Mount Jerusalem National Park. 4 animals, 2 adults, 2 juveniles, crossing Wilson's Creek Road in his headlights at 11 p.m. Kind of cool if that's true. If any of those are true, and if it's still alive, that makes it kind of like a cryptid in a way. And I love me some cryptids. I reposted the Elon Musk SpaceX seal fiasco. I feel like I'm on Elon's side on this. It might be a little bit too much. I don't know. I think it's a bit too much. It's a little much. I think I talked about last podcast. And then October 23rd was International Snow Leopard Day. Interesting. So this is a threatened species, obviously, snow leopard. Its major threats are poaching and the illegal fur trade. These guys are usually sad in zoos, right? They're used to big open mountain ranges, lots of territory, and they usually have like those pacing behaviors. I feel bad for them. And then we had Wildlife Wednesday. Put up a cute little muskrat video. Check that one out. It should be in the highlights tab. Easy to find all my videos there on X. And then one of my followers, his name's Matt Murray. Apparently he did a book. He did like kind of like a children's book of some interesting and weird, unique type of animals. I purchased his book and I did a little feature of it on my page, and people commented on it. They liked it. It was pretty cool. So My favorite page in there was obviously the moon rat, which kind of resembles a possum and a rat. But it's like white. I did a weekly nature space, which is basically just that. This week, the podcast and that space are probably fairly similar. That's a skip if you're listening to that. You can skip that. October 24th was 2 days. International Freshwater Dolphin Day and International Gibbon Day. Gibbons are like nature's pranksters. They grab, tiger's tails and they swing away. You've probably seen videos of those online. They're pretty entertaining. And no one really realizes that there's actually freshwater dolphins like swimming in rivers and stuff like that. And they're like smaller, and some of them are like pink, and they're like pretty threatened, and they're very rare. And we have to kind of focus on protecting them, because once they're gone, they're going to definitely be gone forever. They're very unique. And then October 25th, World Lemur Day. Everyone loves lemurs. I feel like a lot of people commented on this, and I didn't put a whole lot of effort into that post, which is kind of funny. But it's always like the King Julian stuff was popular on it. But Madagascar is very unique. Very unique for species. Madagascar is the only place where lemurs are found. Posted a waterfall picture. Pretty nice. Pretty nice. Posted a picture of a mountain range with a foothill, with some forest, and then a field. And if you look very carefully at the center of the photo, you can actually see a grizzly bear. Oh, and then I posted the elk photo and that's in Jasper National Park, but I'm pretty sure all those trees are gone now, especially on the mountainside. So it's really cool that I have this photo of what it used to look like before it was all burnt down and gone. And that's it, folks. That's the Iron Barky Podcast. That's the whole damn show. Oh, yeah. Cup of coffee in the big time. Oh, yeah. Coffee, yeah. The cream of the crop rises to the top. That was Randy the Macho Man Savage, by the way. Okay, folks. Take it easy. Take it easy.